Hello, welcome to the Always Dreaming Bigger podcast with me, your host, Bree. I cannot believe that we are here. It is so crazy to me that I am recording this because for the longest time, this was an absolute no. And I realize now it's because I was just terrified. I didn't think that, there were a lot of reasons, a lot of limiting beliefs. So we are just going to dive right in and unpack those because I just want to share kind of how I went through. I felt that fear and I decided to dream bigger and do it anyways. So the first thing I did was I had the thought, obviously, to start a podcast, and it was the absolute smallest thought. I was listening to some of my favorite podcasts and I had that little idea of I pictured myself doing a podcast, and I was like, no, because what would I talk about? So I shut it down, and then I had that thought again when I was listening to another podcast, and finally it clicked, okay, I'm having this idea for a reason. There is a reason I keep thinking, what if I had a podcast? And maybe it's because I need to do it. So I immediately started unpacking all of those fears. And the way that I do that, which you can unpack them and you can still feel them anyways when you go to do whatever it is you're doing, but just do the dang thing. So I wrote down my fears, so when I wanted to start a podcast, well, who would listen to me, right? Nobody's gonna listen to me. That was one of my biggest fears. So that was number one. Number two was, I literally don't know what I'm doing because I've never done this before, right? So that, of course, held me back. And then it was the biggest one when it comes to absolutely everything, was the fear of failure, which I'm sure you can all relate to in some way or another. So I let those hold me back. So I wrote those down, right? And then I crossed them out. And as I crossed them out, I was telling myself and writing down why they didn't matter or they didn't make sense. Oh, and one other one I had, which is also a big one for a lot of people, was the fear of judgment. Now, I am sure there are people listening to this judging me now, and that's totally cool. You're just throwing your own projections out there. So anyways, I wrote those down, I crossed them out, and then I went through and told myself why they didn't make sense or why they didn't matter. And so that first one was, who would listen to me? Well, who cares? You know what? Because I'm getting my words out there. And even if there was only one person that listened and got something out of it, it was worth it. Totally worth it. So there was that. I don't know what I'm doing. Absolutely no one knows what they're doing when they start things. It's okay to be a beginner. So I threw that one out the window. And then when it came to the judgment thing, like I said before, if you're judging me, you're just putting your own projections out there. So, yeah, the only people that judge me are the ones that are just judging themselves or wishing that they could do this and they just haven't. So that's how they're projecting. Anyways, and the fear of failure, you can't really, you can fail at things, obviously, if you don't quote unquote get your meaning of success if you don't hit that. But are you really failing? Because you learn so much whenever you try or do anything. So I always see it as failing forward. So like I said, even if no one listens to this, well, at least I tried. I put myself out there. I did the dang thing. I showed up. So I kind of just laughed at those fears as I went through this. And like I said, I threw them out the window. Now, of course, as I went to record this, I started to feel that fear again and I almost held myself back. But I reminded myself of those things. And that, someone listening to this might just need to hear that other people have so many fears, but they choose to look past them and do it anyways. So if you are that person, just know that I am absolutely terrified, but that is okay because I'm doing the dang thing anyways. And you know what? Once I continue doing this and I get used to it, it's going to feel less scary each time. So there is that. If that resonates with you, I hope that whatever it is you want to do, you go and do the dang thing. Now, I want to talk about, because this is my first podcast, my very first episode, for this podcast, I want to talk about my name, the podcast name, which is Always Dreaming Bigger. I truly believe that we all can have all of our dreams, like the ones that are meant for us. Sometimes we want something, but it's not meant for us, and that is totally different. But just know that if it's truly meant for you, it'll come to you. And if you truly want it, then it is meant for you. So I hope that makes sense. But I, for the longest time, did not allow myself to dream bigger. Like, I just didn't allow myself to believe that I was worthy of anything. And a big part of that were just, of course, limiting beliefs, things that had happened in life, things that I had been taught to believe, told, and that just stuck with me. They held me back from literally believing that I could have all the things and do all the things that I wanted. And so I just started going through and healing and, crushing all these limiting beliefs and putting in that work. And then I started dreaming bigger, and I realized like how absolutely incredible it is, and that we literally all deserve to dream big and to have those dreams come true. Like, you are so worthy. You have those ideas and those thoughts for a reason, and just act on them. Take inspired action. And like I said before, if you feel any fear, which I'm sure you will, we're all human, feel that fear and do it anyways. But don't be afraid to dream big. Seriously, don't feel bad. Like, I literally held myself back. It's so funny. I was talking to, she's actually my niece, but we're the same age, so she's one of my best friends. And she kind of helped me see, like, oh, this is another thing you can do if you have like a fear or a limiting belief. Share it with somebody. Be like, I want to do this, but this is what's holding me back. Because they will help you laugh at that. Find a person that will help you laugh at them. So we're talking, and I was telling her, about how for the longest time I just didn't feel like it was okay for me to want to make more money. It wasn't okay for me to, want to travel and go to Disney and, do those fun things. Like, I felt like I wasn't allowed to want those things, or, I could want them, but like I wasn't worthy enough to have them. Like, either I wasn't capable, I wasn't good enough, or like I would just literally feel guilty because, if someone else doesn't have that right this very second, you shouldn't have it either, because that's totally not fair. Because then you're spoiled. So that was like my biggest, it's so crazy. That was my biggest, limiting belief when it came to dreaming bigger. Like, it wasn't okay for me to have any of those things. And so I started breaking down that wall, which of course it took time. But, so remember, things don't happen overnight. But I broke through those walls, and I started allowing myself to dream bigger. And then I started allowing myself to live bigger because I was dreaming bigger. And I still sometimes will feel that little pull of guilt because, of course, it stuck with me for so long that, it doesn't happen overnight. So I'm still like peeling away those layers. And I can tell you that it has 100% been worth it. So I am here to remind you to always, always, always dream bigger. I hope I can help you bust through any limiting beliefs you have that are holding you back from not only dreaming bigger, but living bigger, because you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it. You are so worthy, and you're so capable. Like I said, I had that fear of like, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to a podcast, because I don't. Like, I still don't, and I'm sitting here recording one. But I'm figuring it out, because everything is figure outable, and I'm going to keep dreaming bigger. So I hope you decide to always dream bigger with me, and I hope you have a great day.